On the tables in front of me, you're gonna see various routers, 4 to be exact, with one having 2, which I'll get into a little bit here in this video. But the reason for this video is to determine which one of these is right for you. It's a very common question that I've received as somebody that actually owns all 4 of these routers. Most people want to know, if I was to buy one, which one would it be? Now, quite frankly, this is a very simple discussion in the sense that you really only have to break this down into 2 categories. Those 2 categories are power and also the size bits you're using, more importantly, what collet size you need. Now, both of those things kind of go together. Power relates to the collet size. Now, let's kind of talk about it. When you look at this side of the table, this is going to be the lower powered routers versus this side of the table, which gets into the higher powered routers. Something I want to point out, each one of these routers, the MFK 700, the OF 1010, the OF 1400, and the 2200, like all Festool items, that number means something. That is the watts of that router. So why are the watts important? Well, this is roughly your 1 horsepower router. This is a trim router. This is roughly 1.5 horsepower. Then you get here where you're roughly 2.5, and then you get here to 3.25, 3.5, based on the amount of watts for that router. Now, how do the watts or the horsepower affect what you're doing? Well, that goes in line with the collet size and the bits that you're using. So while I say this goes down into 2 categories, it really goes into 1 when you combine the 2 together. Meaning, if you're somebody that is using small bits to do small edge profiles, roundovers, chamfers, maybe you're cutting grooves with a spiral bit, maybe you're cutting rabbets, one of these smaller routers may be best suited for you. As where if you know you need to start using some larger bits that require a 1/2-inch shank, then these are going to be your only option, being the 1400 or the 2200. So let's talk about collet sizes with each router. This comes with a 1/4 inch and an 8 millimeter, as well as the 1010 comes with a 1/4 inch and an 8 millimeter. Now that is very different with Festool routers than American routers in the sense that they all have an 8 millimeter collet as part of it. And then when you get into the larger routers, the 1400 and the 2200, they have those 2 collets, but they also have the 1/2-inch collet. So you can use a multitude of bits on these routers as where you are limited to the smaller shank size with these routers. One other thing that I would like to point out, and this is to briefly discuss how the larger bits are going to affect in terms of power and what your requirements are. If you look at the opening on the MFK 700, you'll see that it's very small. Why? Because it is used for smaller bits, as opposed to the 2200 being the most powerful is where you're going to get into your much larger diameter bits if you're doing very large roundovers, very large chamfers, mill work of some sort, and you need that additional power and you need that really, really big bit to spin effectively. This is going to allow you to do that. Now, with all of these Festool routers, they all have an amazing set of accessories, ranging from better dust collection to edge guides, to guides that will allow you to use it in conjunction with your track, to the LR32 system. There are so many great things, and all of these routers all have those great features. So to me, the accessories themselves are not really a deal breaker because you're going to get those great accessory capabilities with any of these routers. So I mentioned before that there's a reason why I have 2 of the MFK 700s on the table. And really that's just to demonstrate that they come with different bases that allow you to utilize this router in different orientations, being either vertical or with a 1.5 degree base, I'm able to use it in a horizontal manner. This is fantastic for trimming edge banding. So you pair this with something, say like the Conturo or whatever edge banding setup you have, and this will give you the ability to get very, very clean edge banding cuts. Now, while that is a very specific use case scenario that a lot of people probably aren't going to run into, I think if I had to choose one that would be the best suited for just about everybody out there, the best bang for your buck, it is going to be the OF 1400. And there's a few reasons for that. We have a great power range with roughly 2.5 horsepower. We have the ability to use 8 millimeter, 1/4 inch, and 1/2-inch collets. So it's a perfect complement of power versus the collet size, which means the capabilities that you have with this router are really, really good for probably 99% of people doing woodworking and all the bits that they already currently have in their shop. If you're somebody that is using the really large bits that you need the extra power and you would need a router like this, you probably have the proper tooling for that. And it is not always bigger is better, because there's another very key factor to all of these routers that you will see, and that is the size. And with size comes weight. So again, you could do everything with this router, but it is significantly heavier and it is overkill for what most people are doing on a regular basis. So those are the factors that I would consider. Those are the differences between these routers, and my recommendation, if you're looking for just one, the best bang for your buck is the OF1400. Hopefully you found this video helpful and it makes your decision on which Festool router is right for you a little bit easier. Thanks.